This is just going to be an ad hoc explanation of reality manifestation. Preferably in the future, I might actually collect my thoughts and present this in a better way. And when it comes to manifesting, you need to start with the basic understanding of metaphysical idealism that the whole cosmos is a dream within the mind of the all. So, to understand how manifesting works and why some of the teachings around it are quite delusional, you need to understand a few key points. One is that you alone are not creating your reality. The why core concept is fallacious and is very well debunked by Montauk on montauk.net. I would highly recommend to read his articles on true reality creation, synchronicity, and manifestation. But simply put, everyone in this, a participant in this reality, has their own desires and thoughts, and we are creating this experience together. And so a lot of things we experience are not our own creation. Any kind of metaphysical solipsism, you should throw that out of mind, because that's just not how things work here. The second thing is every single thought and every single stirring of emotion or desire counts. So this whole idea of meditation for a certain amount of time, or your rituals, which are highly superstitious, other than the psychological components of, association, repetition, that kind of thing, obviously will allow one to create certain emotions and thoughts and condense them. But beyond that, there's so much superstition around ritual. Every thought you have counts. Every emotion you have counts. If you become very clear-minded, spend a lot of time to just empty out your mind of thoughts and of feelings, you will start to have dreams where you will understand that every single aspect of the dream is connected to some stirring of emotion throughout your day, as well as when you're asleep too, actually, and that every single thing you experience in there can be connected to that. And then eventually also, if you start looking at reality in a certain way, you can see also that it is constantly, in some manner, responding to what your moods are, what you're thinking and feeling. So, to properly manifest things, you really have to change how you think and how you feel throughout, like all the time. It just has to become part of your personality. Concentrating and making like thought forms and working hard on manifesting very specific things does in fact work. It's a simple equation of intensity and duration. So everything we think and feel through the day, if we think and feel very little intensity, it still has a lot of effect, because that's a lot of duration. That's a whole day of thinking and feeling. Anything that any really intense emotional experience has a much bigger and pronounced effect. All that matters. So you can't isolate one thing from all the others. It's your whole mentality. It's your every thought and feeling that counts towards manifesting things. Now, to actually get good at manifesting things, you also need to rule out coincidence. There's so many things that people will look to that are actually highly likely to happen things. Number sightings and so on, they're not good evidence. They are still part of synchronicity, but they're not very good feedback, and they're definitely not proof, not for oneself, not for others, just because they can be explained as chance, even if they're not actually chance. So what you really need to do is try to manifest really specific things. And I would highly recommend to take the approach that is given in Chaos Magic, where it's just silly things like maybe seeing someone with a red dress spin around 3 times. Something very specific, very improbable. And if you can put it to a specific time frame as well, even better. And if you can get it to be very precise and be rather inconsequential, like you're not asking for wealth or for challenges or anything big, just something subtle but extremely improbable. That is the way to go. And specific, then you can really know for sure that this is an actual thing, that this phenomena is real, and you will be able to prove it to yourself, but maybe you could prove it to others too, but it would have to be something that you would have to announce to others beforehand, and it would seem almost like a prophecy, except it's not really a prophecy because you're making it happen. You're not just predicting it will happen. So yeah, I suppose if someone were into proving the phenomena to others, they could. But the important thing is to confirm that it's a real thing for yourself. If you learn lucid dreaming, you'll get a bit of a understanding of how reality creation works. It seems that at certain states of consciousness, you have more authority over things. Now, my pseudoscientific explanation here is that maybe it's tied to brainwaves, alpha, theta, delta, whatever they call them. If you get into certain deeper states of consciousness, you are able to influence things better. So it may not also be just intensity and duration, but what level you're operating on. Reality becomes more plastic, more responsive, more dreamlike when you are in certain states of consciousness. And the interesting thing that people don't tell you, or some people will tell you, is that when you do get into these states, these things really, really do happen. Some people have tremendous amounts of luck when they're in the right state, and everything just goes well for them. That's so vague, though. But my point is that you can really get into a state where things around you, events that are happening around you and to you, are being in fact influenced by you, and not as opposed to like delusions, psychosis, that kind of thing. Something else to consider is if you, for example, read Personal Magnetism by Q. Dumont, there's the magnetic personality and there's the non-magnetic personality. Now, the magnetic personality is really good at manifesting, whether they're manifesting really bad and awful experiences or good experiences. They're very good at influencing everything around them, and reality is like constantly responding to them. Then there are other people who are very non-magnetic and they don't really influence anything, and good or bad, it doesn't go either way. And I would highly recommend to read Q. Dumont's book on personal magnetism. That's also a pseudonym of William Walker Atkinson. If you understand what he talks about a magnetic personality, then you can get reality to respond more to your mental and emotional state, and you can create your own personal hell or personal heaven by being the one who's actually determining things, circumstances, and so on. I will probably redo this later, but this is going to be my video for now. I obviously need to dive into some of my books again, probably the Arcane Formulas, Personal Magnetism, as I mentioned, and like just reread some parts and like think about this carefully so I can present this in a more coherent manner. But I hope that gives some of y'all insight into how reality manifestation works. It's not about a few minutes here or there. It's about every single thought and feeling. That's the main takeaway. And then the other thing is this the state of consciousness giving you a certain level of authority over others, events, etc., so that reality becomes plastic, dreamlike, etc. If you are mindful of those two things and you do some experiment along this line, eventually you can become very confident in the reality of this phenomena and make it work for you. And regardless of the theory, whether we explain it from a more mundane perspective, the results are the same. So, as a chaos magician, right? Pragmatism, results, that's what matters. Theory is also very good, as you can get some ideas about how to expand things further, how to take things further, but start with actually getting results, and then you can figure out the details later.